So I've been looking forward to announce this for quite some time now. Active Feature Team is breaking out into vehicles. I'm aware that sounds a little odd. Give me a sec to explain. So Active Feature Team traditionally has numerous irons in the fire, some very large, some small. That said, all of them add to the wider canvas. Having the PU as a live game gives us a unique opportunity for not just the development of an MMO. The PU is all games combined, effectively. The PU gives us something unique in that we can reach out and ask people to test our features. Getting that feedback early on allows us to iterate, so it's great all round for all the games we're making. So one of the features we're working on right now is mounted gun. First glance, the feature may seem somewhat familiar in that we have a Gatling gun on the side of the Valkyrie already. The issue with the current implementation of that is that it's leveraging the ship turret system. This new feature changes that up. We've implemented it in a way that's both sort of physically accurate, but also gives a much better player experience in terms of the mounted gun. So there are two modes with mounted gun. There's what you'd consider the ready state, where you're just holding the grip as if you had a weapon in a stocked mode. We didn't want to give the impression or the feel of the gun being bolted to the front of the camera, so there's a definite sense of weight and a slight delay in the direction that your gun points to with your character catching up. In addition to that though, we have ADS mode, which you'll be familiar with just FPS shooters in general and Star Citizen with FPS weapons. That gives more finer control, and obviously you're zoomed in, you're looking down the barrel of the weapon. So the first iteration, we're bringing you a Gatling gun. That's going to be the only weapon available. It's just going to be in sort of ad hoc locations for you guys to give it a try and see what you think and give us feedback. Not just going to be Gatling guns. The intention is to provide a wide range of weapons. So you're aware of how many weapons we have on our ships. Imagine that on a mounted gun. But moving forward, there's other iterations of the feature we want to make. Possibility locations, especially in Squadron and in Theatres of War, you're going to see them cropping up all over the place. So the sky's the limit in terms of the feature, I think. Another feature we're working on, and in fact we've been working on this feature for a little while now, is force reactions. And in this iteration, we're introducing staggers. Stagger really introduces just an extra layer into the combat experience. It's not something that's as disruptive as being knocked down, but it is something noticeable and visceral when you're shot, say, from a 50 cal pistol or a bearing shotgun. You're going to notice it and feel it. The intent has been to just flesh out the whole force reactions feature. We've now got a complete range of severities from being hit from shotguns, pistols, sniper rifles, etc. On top of that, ships make use of this, so it's no longer a case of a slight flinch or a fall in your arse. You can now stagger as a result of your buddy pilot ramming into the nearest station whilst taking off. Again, as mentioned, Active Feature Team is breaking out into vehicles, and I can excitingly announce that our first vehicle will be a cargo trolley. Star Citizen is many things. I didn't think we'd get to the point where it's Jackass in space, but now we have opportunities. So the feature we're working on is trolley push-pull. Believe me, it does actually afford us quite a few things for the game. For one, it allows us to do cool things like pile corpses onto trolleys and push them around. Who doesn't want to do that? And no, Jared, I'm sorry, that there's not the ability to jump up on the back and ride it down a hill. Not in this version, at least, anyway. There is, however, the potential for races. If you and a friend want to push each other around, I can see a new bracket in the Daymar Rally. As a feature, it's been really interesting because we've taken the approach of making it physically accurate. You have little coaster wheels that spin and rotate based on how you're pushing it. If you've ever pushed a trolley cart around a supermarket, you'll know how that goes. But it also expands our toolbox for the level designers. Imagine any FPS or third-person game without some sort of push block you can push around and climb on top of. Not for 3.13, but moving forward, the intent is to make use of them in various delivery missions and whatnot. And then beyond that, we'll see NPCs and players using them to sort of push cargo around. At a later date, that's going to be a key component in terms of your day-to-day life as moving things around with your ship. So that's three of the features that Active Feature Team are working on, coming to you soon in 3.13. It's gratifying to know that you're working on features that are not just for one game, but for also Squadron 42, Theatres of War and the PU. And obviously, once you guys have had a chance to give feedback, it does open up far more possibilities for people putting videos on Reddit, which is obviously one of the reasons I'm making this game.
The symbiotic nature of developing multiple games in simultaneous fashion means that testing for one is often testing for all. And through these new additions to Star Citizen, the same functionalities are also added to Theatres of War and Squadron 42. And if maybe shopping carts and mounted machine guns aren't your thing, note, ask Chris about shopping carts on mounted machine guns. We've got a sprint report for you full of environmental goodness. Let's take a look. Let's start things off by checking back in with the continuing development of ship-to-station docking, which, after passing its go, no-go last week, has now moved into the final art phase, where teams will begin working on things like the final levels of detail, signage, and overall polish in the month ahead. Now, while this certainly looks great already, it has been, as is usual with any brand new workflow, a bit of a setup challenge to get the animations working just the way we'd like. But solid progress is being made, and the team looks forward to finishing this out with proper lighting and the big bulkhead doors in the coming weeks. The Planet Content team recently completed a sprint on a new type of harvestable being added to surfaces in the upcoming Alpha 3.13. The Degnus root is a microalgae that was first discovered in the shallow coastlines of Terra Prime. Now, although it is often used for cooking, Degnus can be most commonly found in medical products, thanks to its unique blend of nutrients. Astute followers of the public roadmap may have noticed the continuing polish of planets and moons in the Stanton system over the last several patches, and work continues with this look at recent efforts on Lyria, where the team never quite felt it hit the internal benchmark they were looking for, but with updates to both the materials and asset packs is now closer than ever before. They're also working on a return to the corals found around the oceans of Hurston that uses new scan data and includes fun additions like starfish, which I'm told will be sci-fi'd up a bit before release. Space starfish, coming at ya. It's also important to note that a placement pass is still pending, so none of this should be quite as dense when you see it in Alpha 3.13. Fingers crossed. Looking a bit farther ahead, whiteboxing continues of several of the colonialism outpost buildings we've seen concepted over the last several months, using the idea of a small home as their starting point. You can see things like the standalone battery pack, the rooftop solar panels, and life support units. They've also begun to box out the small garage unit that can comfortably fit an Ursa rover, as well as a ladder up to the roof because we're always thinking about advanced traversal options, as well as some tests using the recently revealed terrain modification tool to see how the overall buildings work with the smoothing volumes. Internally, the team has also begun blocking out the social spaces, the brush extensions that connect each individual module, figuring out where they can hide the placement of viz areas and runtime probes so that they don't create visible seams for players to see, exploring the potential return of the conversation pit, because everything old becomes new again, hab units for players to decorate and store items, and this party in the bathroom. There's a seashells joke here, but I'm not going to make it. Outside, pre-production has begun on materials explorations and defining exactly how these structures are constructed in the lore of our universe, from the foundation stones at the bottom and up through the various paint layers, to exploring new types of hard surfaces for the interior edge wear effects, which are designed to remove sharp corners from every surface. It's a very different kind of building for Star Citizen, so the team is having a lot of fun exploring a more organic looking structure all around. Teams have also begun the white box blockout for 2 new hospitals beginning their journeys into the persistent universe, including this look at the new Babbage Hospital, soon to be found beneath the Aspire Grand, with new Bab's trademark skylight looking out to the skyline above it, as well as a pharmacy where you can stack up on med pens, and eventually an ambulance drop-off point, which, given the way I play, I expect to use more often than not. Also in White Box Blockout is Orizon's Hospital, which won't be a part of its original release, but is expected in a subsequent drop later this year. Finally, a special treat from some of our team members in our new Montreal studio, a look at initial blockout progress for a new Javelin derelict being used as an onboarding test bed for artists and designers alike. Now, this was a fun warm-up task that allowed folks to learn the various ins and outs of our game engine, our workflow, and overall general process. Now, this was a fun warm-up task that allowed our new team members to learn the various ins and outs of our game engine, our workflow, and our overall development process. And it's delightful to see one of Star Citizen's earliest planet-side points of interest potentially evolve into so much more. Now, while this was originally just a test, it has inspired everyone that's seen it to explore this idea further later this year. So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that with staggers and mounted weapons and push-pull trolleys, oh my, the actor feature team continues to delight each and every patch. That there's always room for new harvestables. The hospitals signal the next major step forward in the life and death struggles of Star Citizens in the persistent universe. And that there's no reason a crashed spaceship can't be just as awesome as a fully intact one. Don't forget to check out the return of Calling All Devs tomorrow with Richard Tyrer and more actor feature team goodness. And for Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all next week.